So it's officially fall in Georgia. It actually feels a little bit like fall in Georgia in the morning.
Finally.
What does that mean for the market, the real estate market?
So you do have keep in mind like the holidays are coming up. So we got Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, and those are usually times when people are just busy. They're busy with family. They're busy traveling. I think Thanksgiving is the most traveled holiday of the year. So you have a lot of people that are out of town, but people still have to move. There are some people that need to do something before the end of the year. They need to buy or sell before the end of the year for tax purposes, for job relocation. So there are still people that are out there that are still looking to buy properties. What I've been telling my sellers is, yes, we are getting to a slower time of the year as far as the market goes, but the people that are in the market right now are serious.
Right.
With the higher interest rates, with the higher home prices, you have a lot of people that are just kind of testing the market. They're kind of out there seeing, what they can do, what they can get. But I have found that the people that are in the market right now, the buyers, they're serious about buying a house, and they have a deadline to purchase a home.
So for your buyers that are currently looking, some of them do have deadlines. How do you prep them for delays? Because there are certain areas in our market that don't have a lot of inventory. So if they're looking in a certain county or a certain city, like how do you prep them for the possibility that they might not meet the deadline?
You definitely have to have that conversation up front. And I mean, we let them know that, hey, look, in your price point, in your area, there's only going to be a specific amount of properties that are available. And it's not a time of year where there's going to be a ton of properties that just come on the market, month over month. So for buyers that have a deadline, it's like, hey, look, you're either going to have to, pick one of the houses that's available and maybe, sacrifice some of your want list, or you're going to have to miss your deadline, and be able to extend that deadline to be able to find something as they come on the market. So it can be a little tough for buyers right now, but I think you can't be as picky when you have a deadline to meet.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of prioritize. It's like, okay, do I want to have all these wants that I want on my list, or do I want to meet my deadline? Because a lot of times you can't do both. So it's like, what can we sacrifice?
Yeah. I remember you had, I think this was last year sometime, but you had the out of town, um, they were relocating and he lived in somebody's basement while his family was still in the other city while he was looking
Right.
because he had a hard time finding a property. So you definitely do have to, plan.
Yeah, you always want to have somewhat of a backup plan. Hey, can I stay with family? Can we find a short-term Airbnb or something like that we can stay in order to find exactly what we're looking for. So that does happen. But you also I recently have a client that is moving from out of state, and he's got a deadline, and luckily they found a great home and they love it. They didn't have a whole lot of negotiation room
Mm,
with the seller because they didn't have the walkaway power to say, oh, well, if this one doesn't work out, we'll go find something else. It's like, hey, no, this meets our criteria, this meets our deadline. Unfortunately, we may have to pay a little bit more than we wanted to for it. But fortunately for this client, they got a great deal. Their appraisal actually came in almost $20,000 higher than what they're actually paying for the property.
nice.
So they're not overpaying for the property. They're just paying a little bit more than what they initially wanted to.
Right. Well, convenience fee.
That's right. Yeah, you absolutely do pay for convenience, but I think it's still a good time to sell. I really feel like we're at the bottom of our market, or actually even coming out of the bottom of our market.
Mm,
So for the people that are looking for the best price and the best deal on a property, now is the time to buy. I was talking to our mortgage broker yesterday, and you get a lot of different opinions on what's going to happen, but we should get a couple rate drops, a little 0.25% rate drops between now and the end of the year. But they are anticipating at the first of the year we may get a significant rate drop.
Oh, okay.
And when that happens, all the people that are on the fence that are waiting for those rates to drop are going to jump in the market, and we're going to see a lot more buyer activity in the market come the first of the year.
So for the people who are waiting for the first of the year, how would you tell them to prepare now?
So that's a great question. I think, I'm working with a client right now that had some issues with his credit. So, one thing to do right now is to make sure that your credit is in line. If there's anything that needs to be paid off or paid down, now's a great time to do that. Your interest rate is based on your loan to value. So how much of the value of the property are you borrowing? So if you're doing a 95% loan or a 90% loan or an 80% loan, those percentages are going to affect your interest rate. And then also your credit score. So even if you have a credit score that's high enough to qualify, is there an opportunity between now and the first of the year for you to get that score up
Mm.
to where maybe you can get a little bit better rate, for your interest rate? So I'd say that's a great thing to be preparing for right now. Another thing is, saving money for your down
Mhm.
payment, saving money for the closing costs, and just, having that available when you're ready to purchase.
So, in addition to calling you, cleaning up your credit, and doing those types of things before you get ready to search, I feel like they also would want to narrow down like the areas that they're interested and the type of home. Like, do you want land? Do you want a ranch, townhome? All of those things.
Yeah, I think, I love having consultations with people several months before they're ready to buy. That way I can get a clear understanding of what their goals are, and narrowing down what those goals are. And then we can start, looking at sending properties that meet, the criteria that they're looking for. And I think too, sometimes I work with a lot of people where they're like, well, we're thinking about these, 3 or 4 different areas, but we're not really sure exactly where we want to look, which I think is great. I mean, I think you have to do that, you have to explore those different areas. And a lot of times too, it boils down to what type of home and what price point is in a specific area.
Hmm.
So I know there's a lot of times where it's like, okay, I need a lot of square footage, I've got a large family or whatever it may be, and it's like, okay, well, this area gives you the most bang for your buck for that, that specific goal that you're looking for. Or you have people that are like, hey, I don't necessarily need a big house, but I want a little bit of land. I want a little bit of privacy. I want a little space between the houses.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, well, out of those 4 areas, this area is probably going to be the best area for
Right.
you.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I have set up searches and sent people houses in different areas, and they're like, oh, yeah, the houses that we're getting in this particular area aren't really, the best that we can get. Let's focus more on this area. And then once they're ready to buy, it's like, okay, now we're just looking in this area. We're not looking at the other 3 areas because they've kind of narrowed down that, that criteria for that search.
I do think it's important to explore. I mean, when we were looking for a house, if you recall, I was dead set on the Hamilton Mill area. Like
Mhm.
I had a specific neighborhood. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you why. Like I just liked the neighborhood. I had this one specific house we looked at. I wanted that house. And Avery and I were actually driving past there the other day, and I was like, I am so glad that we didn't end up over here because what I wasn't considering and wouldn't if I weren't, if I didn't explore the area is the traffic coming out of that neighborhood is awful. Like
Mhm.
they need a light there, honestly. And I mean, the schools are fine and all of that, but I just look at the neighborhood, that neighborhood versus our neighborhood. And so I think it's great that people explore different areas, like go out there, drive around, see how it feels, see if you can envision your family there. Um, and I think also I wanted to mention like a lot of people who call me and they're just chit-chatting about real estate and they don't want to bother you because they're not ready. And I feel like I just want to, say like your phone, like, I know people say this, like, your phone is always on and you actually enjoy the conversation. Like, you like to prep people and give them realistic, um, just a realistic view of what this looks like and how long it might take for them. So I just wanted to say that like out loud, like you are not bothered by the chit chat, even if you're even not planning to buy anytime soon and you just have questions, like you enjoy that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And that's how
absolutely.
you land on the decision of whether you want to buy or, wait, is having the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of our main goals when we're working with any of our clients is to educate them. Give them all the information that they need so that they can make the best decision for their situation, their family, themselves, whatever it may be. And yeah, you've got to have those conversations, and it's okay if they're early. I would rather them have the information sooner rather than later, and that way they're not scrambling at the end. So
Right.
yeah, if people are curious about information, we'd love to talk to them and give them all the information, all the education we can on it, so that they can make a wise decision for them and their situation.
And I do love talking to people, but you just have a unique insight to the actual city, the things that, not that what I'm saying is not important, but you have a unique view on cities and schools and demographics and all the things that, I mean, as I said, when we were looking for our house, I just liked the area. Well, you need more information than that. And that's why we're a good team because, you know, I give some information, but you're the expert. Thank goodness.